Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Kayla Lords.
John Brownstone.
Of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have healthy power exchange relationships. While our dog Lola gnaws on her paw in the background. Sorry. Another question we get a lot is how you have a power exchange in ways that nobody can see. This tends to come up with power exchange relationships where there are kids in the house, when family's visiting.
Hidden in plain sight.
Hidden in plain sight. When you're out in public, but you want to maintain your dynamic. I would say that most of our power exchange is the hidden in plain sight kind.
Pretty much,
it's what we tend to call subtle power exchange. It's stuff that has meaning to us, but from the outside looking in, you don't really see anything. You don't really notice it. So it goes undetected by the non-kinky. Kinky people might notice because they kind of know what to look for.
True.
But anybody else is just not going to clock it. So the things you decide to do in your power exchange to hide in plain sight will be completely unique to you and your relationship and the things you like and the places you go and who you interact with and all that good stuff. Right. We thought we would share what we do to give you an idea of what it can look like. Okay, so the first one is on door holding. There are definitely rules for us on how the door is handled.
When we are together, when we are out, she is not allowed to touch a door handle. Nope, she gets in trouble if she does.
And that includes the car door when I'm sitting in the car.
Yep. When we go somewhere, I open the car door for her to get in the car, and then I close the door. When we arrive at our destination, she sits in the car and waits for me to come around and let her out. As a dominant, well, that's maybe a little submissive. I do that out of respect for her.
You're so sweet.
That is something I have done early on. She is not allowed to touch a door. When we walk into a store, I open the door for her.
And I can see that being done in reverse, where you have your submissive do the door for you as a dominant.
Yeah.
I think it's about how you view it and what it means to you. And not going to lie, the hardest habit I had to teach myself was sitting in the car and not getting out when we've parked in a parking lot. That took a while.
You got in so much trouble in the beginning because every time we got somewhere, you were ready to jump out of that car.
Yeah, and it forces me to be patient, to slow down. Now I use it to my advantage. Sometimes I've got my shoes kicked off and I'm on my phone scrolling, and you'll come around to open the door and I'm like, oh, I've got to get myself together. We're getting out now. Also, it makes it difficult sometimes. I have to be very conscientious when I'm out. Pre-pandemic, when I would go visit my mom, she's not opening the door for me, so I have to make myself remember, open your own door. It's also funny when somebody who says you're not allowed to touch door handle forgets you and leaves you in the car accidentally.
Yeah, I did that once. Not my proudest moment.
And sometimes I get up to the car door to get in and nobody's there to open my door, and the rule is I can't do it, and so I have to go So it's meaningful to us. That's
actually a check just to make sure you're paying attention.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
But it's it's one of those things we have to work together to make it work.
Right.
Okay, so the next one is, and this is very, I don't know, maybe you know how, and this one's very unique to us. I've never heard really anybody else who does it, but maybe you do. We walk on specific sides of each other. Is there a reason?
Well, not necessarily a reason, but I know other couples that do that.
Okay, I have to walk on your right side.
Correct.
Yes, I have to always be on the right side. No matter which direction we're traveling, what kind of traffic it is, I'm on the right side. Why is that? You just wanted it that way?
Just wanted it that way.
And sometimes that's what dominance means. Yeah. I just wanted it that way.
And, for a while there, she had gotten very snarky about it. Surprise, surprise.
I know.
She would be on my left side.
I wouldn't be thinking about it, y'all. I was just trying to get into wherever we were going.
And I would say something to her, and well, you're not on the right side. It's you.
It's you. It's not me.
And, knowing how snarky she is, I chuckled and told her to get where she belongs.
And I do.
And she did.
I mean, not without a little bit of griping, but I do.
And then it finally got, one day I got to the point I was tired of the snark, and we're walking through a Starbucks parking lot, and she started snarking, and I grabbed a handful of her hair and pulled her over to the correct side.
You know, you only had to do that, I think, twice.
Yeah.
And I was back on track.
Yeah, you were.
I was on the right side. Is that just something that started and we kept it that way?
It kind of started. We kept it that way. It works.
And it really is this moment of power exchange, especially if I'm not on the correct side of a reminder. Or when you start walking off, this is when it hits me in a submissive way, makes me feel my submissive self. You start walking, and because of our angles, I have to purposely maneuver in a way to get to the correct side. I am reminded in that moment, ooh, I'm the submissive. I'm doing what my daddy wants me to do. Yeah. And it's nobody is going to notice it. But it's about how it makes us feel. Yeah. And that's really what matters.
And I know there are some couples that will have the submissive follow maybe like a step behind.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
For us, I want her right at my side.
And I want to be there because what ends up happening is we hold hands, or I take his arm, or, we're all close and cute and cuddly. The next thing is actually a breakdown of several things. I kind of lumped them together. And that's just doing very mundane things, which all of these are mundane. But this was like a list of things. So one of those things is when we get in the car or when we're about to get out of the car, if you need your sunglasses, my job is to take them out, because he wears prescription sunglasses, to take them out and give them to you and put your regular glasses away.
Correct.
If it's vaguely could be sunny, I don't know, then it's my job to go, do you want your sunglasses?
Right.
The other one is when we haven't been in a restaurant in a year, but when we go out to restaurants again, if you order a cup of coffee, because we love to go to diners and have breakfast at all hours of the day, I get your coffee ready. I know how much sugar to put in it. I know how much cream to put in it. And even if the server puts it in front of you, I pull it back to me and I
She's gotten some strange stares on that one from the servers.
But a couple of servers are like, oh, did you want a cup of coffee? I'm like, no. And I don't explain myself. That's the thing. I think when we think we're being clocked for, you're doing a kinky thing, we think we have to explain ourselves. No. I just go, no, I'm fine. And I just keep doing my thing.
And carries on doing her thing.
If somebody thinks I'm a little weird or strange or wonders what that's about, that's on them. I don't care.
Yeah.
Not gonna worry about it. I also handle almost all coffee in this house.
Yes, you do.
So I get your coffee pot ready at night.
Correct.
And this really ties more into like being in front of the kids, or if somebody's in our house, this is our DS thing that they're not going to know it's a DS thing. So I get the coffee pot ready at night. So in the morning, you just have to hit a button.
Because I generally wake up before she does, out of bed.
Right. When you want an iced coffee, I actually make sure before I start my day, there's an iced coffee waiting for you in the fridge.
Yeah.
We have learned really I should be the one that orders his coffee for him when we're out. Sometimes he resists, but that's fine. He's the dom. But yeah, anything coffee related, I'm in there. There are a few things you do that I don't, but that's more about skill and less about power exchange. Yeah. Like you make the cold brew because you just make better cold brew, and you grind the coffee beans because you like to grind the coffee beans. But when it comes to preparing the coffee, that's my job.
Right. I mean, you tried in the beginning to make the cold brew.
It wasn't as good.
And as hard as you tried, it just...
I don't have the patience you have. You make it a whole, experience. And I'm like, no, let's whip this together.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as good.
And I'm like, no, we need to rethink this and retry this. And I tinkered with it, and I got that.
We have a whole video on how we make cold brew. I will link to it for you if you're even remotely curious. Another one that I do, and this one works back in the day when we were visiting family, and it's kind of a Southern thing that I was taught, and it's very heteronormative. I get it. But in my family, the women tend to serve their husbands before they sit down to eat, and I took that on for JB, not because I'm a good Southern lady who takes care of her husband, but because I'm a good submissive who takes care of her dominant. And so now some of my family members don't do that for their husbands anymore, and I'm the one that's still doing it, but we do it for a reason. And even though other people would perceive it as being this traditional old-timey thing, we see it as something else, and so then therefore it doesn't matter how somebody else perceives it. We know what it means to us, and so I always serve him his food before I make my plate. The other thing about hiding in plain sight, it's less so now, but there was a time I wore a very subtle collar. It was a necklace.
Yeah.
and the locket that was on it actually would sit under my shirt. So all anybody ever saw was like a chain. And that is a very common way that people hide their DS inside. Some people will wear a ring. Some people will wear a bracelet or an anklet. They won't wear something around their neck at all. It's an easy one to start with if you're in a power exchange, because that way you have the tangible something, but that looks like what anybody else might wear.
True.
The other one, and this one occurs at home in private, but it affects everybody who comes across me and who I interact with. So it's definitely a hiding in plain sight thing. And that is, in different ways at different times, you have picked my clothes for me that I was going to wear for the day.
Yeah. So, she will come to me on any given day and, I don't know what I want to wear today. I don't know what I feel, and, I need help. And I will dive into the closet and I will pick an outfit for her.
And sometimes, back in the day when we used to go places, you're like, I want you to wear this.
Yeah.
Okay.
On date nights, when we had date nights, I would say, I want you to wear this dress. I want you to wear this outfit. Even down to the point of those boots.
Yeah, picked out the whole outfit. For years, you picked out my underwear.
Yeah.
So,
and still do to a certain extent.
Yeah, if I'm going to wear some, which I don't usually.
Right.
I'm commando most of the time. But if I'm wearing some, you've picked them out. And I only wear them when you've picked them out.
Yeah.
And those are obviously subtle things. Nobody ever asks who dressed you today. We all assume that you picked out your own clothes. But it's something that you can walk around knowing that you're only wearing that because the other person in your power exchange picked it for you, selected it for you, wanted you to wear it, whatever. And the last one is very personal to us. They're all personal.
Yeah.
Is it unique to us? There's a word. It'll come to me. And that is, so we do not use our titles in front of family and our kids. I call you daddy, and I always have thought that if you were the biological father of the kids, and I would have done to you what I did to their father, which was when they were little, I didn't call him by his name. I called him dad or daddy. So they kind of like learned that language.
Yeah.
And I think that's if you've got small kids and you use titles that can kind of go unnoticed in that way. If you use like caregiver titles, you can do that. And we probably would have done that.
Right.
By the time we all got together, these children know that I've never used the word daddy with anybody, and I did not personally want to have that conversation. So it was very difficult because I don't like to say the name John. It doesn't feel right in my mouth. It's not, it's what everybody calls you. It's not special. It's not a sign of respect. I don't like it. So if y'all ever notice, I call him John Brownstone or JB because I don't want to call him John. That is why you hear me call him John Brownstone or JB.
Right.
Because I don't like it. So the kids, in kind of a Southern tradition, maybe other parts of the country and the world do this too, but I know in the South, kids, if you're going to refer to an adult, you never just refer to them by their first name. You either use Mr., Ms., Mrs., whatever, their last name, which is really formal, or if it's somebody close to you, but isn't a direct family member, it's Mr., Ms., whatever, and their first name. So JB became Mr. John.
Right.
To the kids. And that ended up being perfect. Because when they're around, I use it as an honorific. I don't have to say John, which I don't like. But if I walk around calling him JB or John Brownstone, they're going to know his scene name, and I don't like that. I'm not comfortable calling you daddy in front of the kids.
No.
I don't want to answer those questions. Thanks. It's a boundary.
Awkward.
So I get to use Mr. John, and the kids just think I'm doing that mom thing of using the same name that they use, just like I did with their dad when we were still together. And I know what it means. I know I'm using it as more of a sign of respect because I just don't want to call you by. I hate being in public, and the only way I can get your attention is to yell out John. I really hate that. I do it, but I don't like it. So if you have that same boundary, you don't want to use your title or your honorific for each other in public, if you can come up with an alternative way of name for each other that is appropriate to the context of where you're at, but you know what it means. It's not one that a lot of people use, but it works for us really well. Really well. Caregiver little dynamics who are also parents. If you get in young enough, referring to one partner as mommy because the kids do too. You can get away with that probably for years. Daddy the same way. We just couldn't. So Mr. John is an honorific in my mind and makes me feel better. I'm much more comfortable saying that. True. And it makes me feel like I'm a little subby way. So those are some ways that we hide in plain sight. It's not all of the ways. There are things that I do that are a lot even more subtle. They're not activities or tasks. The way I defer to you, the way I will ask your opinion, the way I'll go, the kids will ask for something. And I'm like, I got to talk to Mr. John about that. They don't know that you're going to make the decision. They just know that we make decisions together, but I know what that means. So there are things like that, but if you're looking for specific things that put you in a dom headspace or a sub headspace, that's what we do. If those work for you, feel free. Take them and make them your own. It's fine. If you do things like that in your own dynamic that are different from ours, feel free to share in the comments. We can always use more ideas on things we can do. But it is absolutely possible to be in a power exchange and be around your family and be a parent and be out and about in the world and still have moments of feeling your dom or sub self.
Right.
So that's it for us and the snoring Lola in the back for the second video in a row. If you would like to watch our previous video where Lola snores through that too, that'll be linked in some places. But that's it for us. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you like this and would like more of it, please consider subscribing.
And always hit that notification bell to get updates when we have new content.
Sure, just do what Daddy says. And if you really, really like what we do and want more of it and to help us do more of it, you can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/KillLords. Bye.